Alright, hello all, and welcome to our first video, mastering Final Fantasy XIV. So to begin, we're going to start with one of the most basic core principles that you need to know in FF14, and that's your hotbars and macros. So, the first thing to really discuss is how to really use your hotbars. So, there's a lot of little tricks to them. First and foremost, you'll notice on your hotbar, there's a little lock symbol here. And when you have that locked, you actually can't drag anything or move anything around on it. All your items are locked where they are. When you have this unlocked, you can take items and you can move them around on your hotbars. That's pretty cool. Next up, you'll notice there's little numbers over it. These are actually keybinds. So right now I have keybind 1 to 0 on my first bar, control 1 to 0, and shift 1 to 0 on the next bars up. And these ones don't have any bindings on them. So this allows you to hit the represented buttons. So here I'm going to actually click 1 and I'll use my items. That's very good. And your other ones you can use for just clicking manually with your mouse. Now, for console players, you'll be using the cross hotbars, which are a little different. You can manually set up your key bindings to that just the same way, but the defaults make a lot of sense, so most people leave them as is. Now, what we're going to get into is macros. So to anyone who has never used macros before, you can first find all your macros by going to System, User Macros, and you'll get your list here of all your different icons and whatnot to use. Now, I've got a bunch already made here for my various jobs, but I'm going to take you through how to make one from scratch. So first, click one of your open spots here, and you can just type here. Now, you get 15 lines, which means you can put up to 15 commands into one macro, which is pretty good. This will allow you to automate up to 15 things back to back. So you can do up to 15 actions in one macro. So you click one button, you'll do up to 15 things. So instead of having to click a button 15 times to do something like, I don't know, casting Protect on the whole party or, you know, doing crafting commands and stuff like that, you can automate it. So that's very useful. So we're going to make our very first one here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to type in /AC, which is short for action. And we're going to use Cure. So we're going to have to cast Cure, and we're going to cast it on ourselves. So you've got a lot of what we're going to refer to as shortcuts. Now shortcuts are represented by being in between these less than and greater than sign. You got a few of them. One of them is me, which will just swap in your entire name. So if I type in right now /echo me, it'll actually say my name there. You'll see Sorlin Cielo. And for example, you can use T, which is your target. Now right now I have no target, so it won't do anything. And if I target myself and do that again, it'll say my name because I'm targeting myself. If I take the striking dummy and I echo T, it'll say striking dummy. So that's a great way to do automatic commands based on the situation. So for example, you could do Cure T and you'll cast Cure on your target. Whereas this will always cure yourself regardless of target. BT is the battle target, so that's the monster with a red name, which might be what your party members are fighting. So you could be targeting the tank, but if you use this BT macro, you'll cast or do your action on whatever the current main target is. Finally, we also have the numbers 1 through 6, or sorry, 1 through 8. These are the party numbers. So 1 is party member number 1 on your party list. So if you used this macro as is, you'd cast Cure on the first person in the list, whereas 8 would be the last person on the list. Keep in mind, depending on how you have your sorting set up, generally 1 and 2 are normally the tanks, 3 through 5 are your DPS, and 7 and 8 are generally the healers. So if you want to use that as part of your macro, that can help. But for now, we're gonna cast Cure on ourselves. Now, as you'll notice, you kind of have this ugly generic macro icon when you first make it. So we can customize that by clicking right here, and you can actually set all sorts of stuff. There's actually 4 menus of icons, all sorts of cool stuff. Let's go ahead and just use, I don't know, this one for now. And you can drag your macro right onto your hotbar and set that. And now when we click that, we'll cast Cure on ourselves. How about that? That's pretty cool. Yeah, we can keep using it. But there's a little bit of interesting things because if you try to use it while you're casting, it obviously won't work very well. But we can do some more cool stuff. Particularly if you can actually change your icon to things not on the list, particularly any action in the game, by using the command macro icon. Or micon for short. And you can simply just set it to any action, like cure, for example. And now look at that, it's got cure. And this has another very interesting side effect. You'll notice now there's a 15, so it shows you that it costs 15 MP to use. So that's really nice to have. So by having that, we can now cast cure on ourselves. And you'll also notice now it's got, if you'll take a look at that, you'll see it's actually got the cooldown displayed for you when you use the icon. So that's pretty nice. Next up, we're going to look at another one of the most powerful commands, and that is /macrolock. Okay, now this is a almost mandatory command to put on anything, and it can also be mlock for short. What does this do? Well, when you macro lock, it actually makes it so you cannot do any other macros until that one finishes. So then, this is an important thing to note about FF14. If you use and execute a macro while another one is in the middle of being executed, it'll cancel the previous one and start doing the new one. Unless you use macro lock. When you do macro lock, that one will always take precedence and it will not get canceled by other ones. Unless you use the /macro cancel command, which will cancel the current macro. So that will bypass macro lock. So, we're gonna make a new macro that just says /echo hi, okay? And we'll stick that here. And you'll see when I click that, it says hi. Now, watch what happens here. If I do that, it'll continue saying hi, but the main reason it's doing that is because our macro actually finishes. This macro finishes as soon as your character starts casting. So as soon as my character starts casting cure, this macro is actually finished. So we're gonna add another line here. We're gonna go /wait3, and then we're gonna go echo hello, okay? Now, when I use this command, after 3 seconds, you'll see here on my chat log, hello. Okay, cool. And that is, coincidentally, the point right when cure stops casting. So you'll see cure finishes casting right when I say hello. Now, watch what happens when I try using the hi macro when I'm in the middle of casting. Nothing until I finish, and now I can use it. That's important because it'll prevent your macros from interrupting each other, especially if you add wait commands that happen to coincidentally be the exact length of the spell. That's really useful. Alright, now we're going to get into a little bit more. The final and most important thing here we're going to talk about today is wait. So let's say you want to do cure, and then right after this one finishes, we're going to cure again. So we're going to actually make this cure 3 times. And if I'm correct, I think 3 is the correct wait time. It might be 4. Let's give that a try first. There we go. And that'll cure 3 times, right? And maybe you want to make this that it's, you're going to cure the first 3 party members. So first you'll cure party 1, 2, and 3, for example, right? You could do something like that. For example, let's say you want to early game make a macro that casts protect on each party member. Something like that. Okay, now you'll notice you only have a limit of 15 here, and every wait command is actually using up an entire line. Well, Square Enix was nice to us and added actually a nice little shortcut. If you add wait, and then period, and then the number at the end of any command, it basically is the same thing. And that'll let you save yourself an entire line for each command. And this is really important for doing macros like, for example, here's one of my crafting macros. If I had to add a /wait in between every single one of these lines here, the macro would be almost twice as long, which means I would need 20 lines to do it. But by having all my wait here's, I actually save 9 entire lines shaved off my macro, which lets me make longer macros that are actually 15 commands, because the wait actions don't use that up. This allows you to basically do this, And once again, you won't say anything until right after you finish, and now your macros are enabled again. Alright, and that concludes the first video of mastering Final Fantasy XIV. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions about anything I did here, feel free to ask in the comments. Take care and have a good day, and thanks for watching.